Hi, my name is PK Gulati. I'm the founder of The Assembly. If you're here, you're probably watching an assembly workshop. We do these workshops every week, and these are prepared by the assembly team in Dubai. These workshops cover ideas from data sciences, hardware design, automation, robotics, drones, and all the other exponential technologies that you can think about. The idea is for us to learn more than what curriculum teaches us. And we are trying to bring people to start working with their own hands with these technologies which have the capacity of changing the world. So welcome to this workshop and learn more about new wonders, what you can build.
Hello everyone and a very good morning to all of you, and welcome back to another very interesting session. Today's session is about how you can code your own rich text editor using just Python and PyQt5. Now there are several advantages of having your own custom coded rich text editor. One being you do not have to pay a subscription fees with other softwares like Microsoft Word. And the second is, of course, that now that you are coding it yourself, you have the availability or the option to customize your rich text editor as per your liking. So you can change the colors, you can remove the junk options, you can add new options. So yeah, you can really pretty much do anything. So yeah, let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about the assembly. The assembly is basically a smart lab based out of N5 since December 2014, and over the course of around 7 years we have provided around 300 free workshops. Now these workshops are divided into three main categories, which are hack, code and data science. Hack workshops are the workshops that deal with any hardware like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, IoT workshops. All these are categorized as hack workshops. The code workshops, on the other hand, are solely software based, like the workshop that we are going to do today is a code workshop which involves only coding. Lastly, we have our third category, which is the data science, which is quite self-explanatory and deals with AI, machine learning, etc. Our target audience are students, professionals, and entrepreneurs, and we focus on smart technology and its practical applications. You can join our forum, which is members.theassembly.ae. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media. We're quite active there. We are there on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the handle of @MakeSmartThings. And you can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube, which is The Assembly. Now, so today we'll be using a library, a Python library called PyQt5. Now, what is PyQt5? So Qt is a set of cross-platform C++ libraries that implement high-level APIs for accessing many aspects of modern desktop and mobile systems. Now these include location and positioning services, multimedia, NFC, Bluetooth connectivity, a Chromium based web browser, as well as a traditional UI development. Now PyQt5 is a comprehensive set of Python bindings for Qt version 5. So it has all the Qt things there. It is implemented as more than 35 extension modules and enables Python to be used as an interactive application development language to C++ and all supported platforms. So basically you can make GUIs like you do with using Tkinter. So PyQt5 is another library that you can use to create intuitive GUIs in Python. And PyQt5 may also be embedded in C++ based application to allow users of those applications to configure or enhance the functionality of these applications. So what we'll be going to do today is we will be going to create a rich text editor which would work similar to Microsoft Word. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is you need to create a folder, and inside that folder you need to have some icons. So like, because we'll be using icons for undo, redo, paste, cut, so you can simply go to Google and download those icons and keep them ready, and then create a new file, name it whatever you want. I just named it RTE, which stands for rich text editor, and now we can get started with the code. So what we need to import over here first is we need to import PyQt libraries. So for if you haven't already done that, you need to first go to your command prompt and type pip install PyQt5 and run this command. Now this might take some time depending on your internet speed, but once it is done, you are good to go. So you can come in here and so you can say import PyQt5 dot qt widgets and import, oh sorry, it wasn't import, it's supposed to be from. Okay, so from pyqt5.qt widgets import everything. Now we'll just go ahead and add in all the import statements in the beginning and only, so that we don't have to type it every single time. So we can say pyqt5.qt GUI qt, make sure you type in the words as like the letters as they are and don't capitalize. Or finally the last one that we need is pyqt5 dot qt print support, because what we'll be doing is we'll be trying to convert our document, our Word document or text document into a PDF. So yeah, that looks good. And one last thing that we can also import is import sys, and yep, we're good to go with the imports. Okay, so now we'll create a class, so we can name it anything. So I'll just name it RTE, class RTE, and then this needs the Q main window, so we'll pass in the Q main window. And every class needs to has an initialized method, so we'll just create that method underscore underscore init and then pass in itself. And now we will call the super class of this method, so which is RTE, and we'll just pass it self dot underscore underscore init. So this is how we're calling the super class. Okay, so what we can do next is head out of the class and we can say app is equal to Q application. So this is all we need to make our GUI working. So we can pass in sys.arg, then with our window is equal to the RTE, then we will say window.show, and this essentially shows our window. And finally, to make the program exit, we have to give sys.exit and then pass in app.exec underscore. Okay, so yeah, we can try running our app and see if to see what we get. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. So let's just go to our command prompt and say python rte.py. Okay, nothing popped up. I think, oh, we did not save the code, so let us save it and try running it again. Okay, so there you go. That's our code so far. So this is what we have created, and yeah, so let's proceed. So far so good. So what we can do now is we can create a space to write text into the GUI. So we can create a kind of a text editor or a box to hold the text inside it. And to do that, it's pretty easy. We'll just say self dot editor equals Qt text editor. Now this essentially gives you a box that you can type text into it. So self.editor equals Qt text edit, and then what you can do is you can put it onto your GUI by saying set self dot, okay, self dot show central widget, show central widget, and then pass in self dot what do you name it, editor. Yeah, there you go. So this should create the text editor in the center of our GUI and show it there. So let's save it and head to our command prompt and try running it. Okay, show central widget. Did I spell it properly? Oh, it's not show central widget and set central widget. Yeah, my bad. Okay, let's try running it again. Okay, so there we have it. Now we can type text in here, and yep, so this is progress so far. Now what we can do next is try to open the screen as maximized, so it's not limited to being this size, like small size, and we can create it to show up as a full sized screen. So that is pretty simple. We can just say self dot show maximized, show maximized, and this should open it up in full size. Another thing that we can do is we can give name to our uh, GUI. So let me just show you. So right now you see that it's written here Python. Now we can change this to have anything that we want. So we can say self dot set window title. So we can say set window title and then pass in our title that we want. So I'll just name it rich text editor, and yeah, that's that part. So let's just try it. So here we have the rich text editor, and of course we can type in whatever we want. Yes, now let's just move ahead to adding the functionalities and see how that goes. For our first functionality that we want to add, we want to have a kind of a toolbar at the top which has functions such as undo, redo, which are often most used functions. So let's just create our toolbar. So we can say def and call this method create toolbar, and once we have done that, we can just say to that toolbar is equal to q toolbar. Now PyQt5 allows or provides us a lot of function built in, so we don't need to code a lot. That's one good thing about using PyQt5. So this is done. Now one last thing that we need to do for our Q toolbar to be shown is we need to say self dot add toolbar and then pass in the name of our toolbar, which is toolbar. That's pretty much it. So, and yeah, we need to call it over here. So we need to say self dot create toolbar, and if we run our code now, it will show us an empty toolbar at the top. So we can run it. So we can go there, and oh, okay, we have to pass self over here and run it again. Right, so now over here you see this tiny thing over here. This is our toolbar, and now we'll add more functionality into it. So let's do that. So for the first thing, we need to add our undo functionality, and what we have is we have all our icons downloaded from internet and kept in a folder and this folder is the same folder that we have our rte.py in. Now you can download your own icons if you want, otherwise all the icons and the code are in the GitHub link in the description below, so you can go to the GitHub repository and download everything and yeah, customize that and do whatever you want. Yes. Okay, so for the undo button, we can just say undo button equals um, this is very straightforward and simple to do stuff. So undo button is equal to, simply we can say q action and then pass in our q icon, because we will be using icon, and for the icon we need to pass the name of the icon, and in our case it is stored as undo.png, so we'll pass in that. And the next thing is we have to just give it a name, so let's just give it undo, and finally we have to pass it as self. Next is what we need to do is we need to tell that what happens if the button is clicked. So we need to say undo button dot trigger dot connect. Oh, sorry, not undo button. Okay, wait. I think yeah. Sorry, undo button dot trigger dot connect, and we need to connect it to self dot editor dot undo. That's how simple it is. Finally, we need to add the undo button to our toolbar, and then we're good to go. So what we can do is we can say toolbar dot add action, and that will be our undo button, right? And let's just see if we did any mistake over here. All looks all good. Okay, let's try running our code. There you go. So you can see we have this undo button over here, and let's try typing in something. My name is, and then pressing undo. Right, as you can see, undo works. So that's great. Now this was kind of the hard part. Now we are left with is just basic copy pasting part. Now we are done with the creating the undo button. Now we can copy paste this code for redo, cut, copy, paste. So essentially all are the same code. So we'll just copy the code, and we'll paste it here. Just make sure you change the undo to redo this time everywhere, and again change the image name from undo to redo. Change this from undo to, okay, sorry, redo. Change it to redo, and finally just change it from here to redo, and this should be good to go if we did not make any mistake. So let's just save the code and try running it one more time. So yeah, now we have two buttons. So let's just say my name is Mar, I am presenting. So we can undo and we can redo. So yeah, both our functionalities are working. Moving on, let's add some other functionalities like okay, before we add some more functionalities, let's just increase the size of the text for now. Later on we'll add a method to increase it as you normally increase it in Word with the, like, you can change the word size as per your liking, but for now just keep it, let's just keep it static and increase the font size a bit, because it's a bit hard to see it in such a small font size. So let's just say self dot font size, oh no, sorry, self dot editor dot set font point size, set point size, and then we can give it any size. So let's just give it 24, save it, and okay, let's run the code and see. So now it's typing much bigger, which is better. Okay, now that we're done with the undo and redo, let's move to the next ones, which are cut, copy, and paste. So essentially they are the same thing, except that we have to just copy and keep on changing the name. So let's just do that. So this is our copy, paste, cut. So okay, we need to change this redo to copy, 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 and finally one last copy. Okay, I'm done with copy. Now all you have to do is the cut, and change it over here. So you can see that it's very simple to code these methods. Like, If you are coding it from scratch, it would take you longer, but PyQt5 has all these methods by default for you, which you can use, so it saves a ton of time. And finally we have the paste, so you can say paste, and just a few more times, and then we will be done with this. Paste, paste, and finally paste. Okay, so let's just save the code and run it. If everything was correct, then we should, okay, so we have all those icons, which is a good thing. Now what we can do is name is what is yours and something. Let's just try it one more time like this and try pasting it over here. Okay, and yes, this was copy, and you can also cut and paste. So yeah, and of course undo and redo are working as well. So this is our basic functionality that we have added so far. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to create the functionality for the user to be able to change the font size, and for that we need to create a spin box so that the user can change the number of the font, and then that will reflect in the actual font size getting changed. So for that we need to create Q spin box. So we'll say self dot font size box equals, and it will be equal to Q spin box. Next we need to create a method that will actually get the value from this spin box and change the text, change the font size accordingly. So let's create the method. So we'll call the method def set font size and pass itself. And what we're basically doing is we're getting, in this method is we're getting the value of the spin box. So we're getting the value from the spin box and we're setting that value as the font size. So we're saying self dot font size box dot value. This will get the value of the box, and we can change the font size by saying self dot editor dot set font point size but to this value. So that's it for this method. Now what we need to do in our create toolbar method is we need to add this like we need to add the entire part over there. So in order to do that, we can say self dot font size box dot set value. Why we are doing this set value is because we have changed the initial value to 24, and we want the same thing to be there in the spin box as well. So that's why we are changing the default value of the spin box to start from 24. And what happens now, we want to connect it to our function. So when the user actually changes the value, it should call the method. So for that we will say self dot font size box dot value changed dot connect, and we can pass in the name of our function, which is self dot set font size. Finally we can add it to our toolbar by saying toolbar dot add widget. Notice that this is a widget and not add action as opposed to the previous methods that we were doing. So it's toolbar dot add widget, and then we have to pass the self dot font size box. And we're good to go. So we can go and run our code, and alright, so here we have our code. It's typing in 24. Let's reduce the font size to 20 and see what it types. Okay, it's gotten smaller, and if we go to 10, it's getting much more smaller. And yeah, I mean, it's fun to play around with, but you get the idea that it's working. So yeah, and of course undo and redo are all working. So yes, that's a success. Alright, so what we want to do now is we want to add the ability to allow the user to change the font. So they can change different font styles from Times New Romans to whatever. So to add that functionality, we first need to set the default font size. So we'll say font equals, and we can just give it a default name, sorry, the one which we will be using in the at the beginning. So we can say that what we want is the Q font, and the one which we are interested in using in the beginning is Times, it's capital T, and the size is 24 because we have declared that to be 24. And now what we want to do is self dot editor dot set font. We want to we want the text in the editor to have the font as this. Right, so yeah, now this is static, but we want the user to be able to change the font by themselves. So we want to kind of create a combo box for them so that they can select which font they want, and based on their selection the font in the font gets changed, right? So let's do that. So for that we'll go to our toolbar. Okay, yeah, we'll go to our toolbar, and over here, sorry, here we can add in the code. So we can say self dot font box, or yeah, we can just name it font box equals q combo box, and then we have to pass the self. Next we need to give the different fonts that we have. So we need to say self dot font box dot add items. Now I'll just add a few different ones. So just say add items, we'll add all these. So these are a few different font types that will be there in the combo box. Now next thing we want to do is we want to connect it to the method that will be called when the user changes or clicks on a new font. So we will do that, we will create the method, but for now we'll just add it there. So we'll say font box dot activated dot connect, and then connect it to the our method that we'll be creating. So we'll call it set font. So self dot set font, this is the method that we will code. And finally we can add all that to our toolbar by saying toolbar dot add widget. Again, this is a widget and not an action. And we can say self dot font size box. Okay, font box, not font size box. Yes. Alright, now it's time to create the method. So let's create the method as well. So we can say def and the method is, I mean, method is not very difficult as well. It's also easy. It just takes, we can let me see what we named it. It was set font. Okay, so set font, and then it takes self. Then what we need to do is we need to call the basically the same two lines of code that we typed in the beginning. I mean, almost similar. So we are getting the font from the current selection that the user has made on the combo box. So we are saying font equal self dot font box dot current text. So this is a built-in method that provides us the current text from the combo box, and then we can set that text to the self dot editor dot set font property dot set font, and then we can just pass in our font. So this will change the font from the previous one to the one that the user has currently selected. Okay, before we do that, we need to first typecast it into Q font and then pass it like this. So Q font, and then pass in the font. Okay, so let's try running the code now. Let's enter command prompt and run it. Alright, so as you can see, we have the combo box over here, and we can change the font size from here, and like the font will get changed automatically. Okay, moving on to the next functionalities. Let's do those. And what we want to do is now we want to have the functionality to allow the user to align text. So left align, right align, and center align. Alright, so let's create the right align first. So right align equals, we can call the Q action. This is pretty much similar to what we did for the copy and paste. So Q action, and then we call the Q icon again. We have the icons, and the name of our icon is right align dot png, and then we can just give it any name. So we can give it right align, and finally we have to give it self. Next, what we need to do is we need to call our right align and connect it to the function that will actually align the text. So for this, we'll be using an inline function using the lambda functions. So we'll say right align dot triggered, triggered dot connect, and then create the lambda function over here. So lambda self dot editor dot set alignment, and then pass in Qt dot align left, align right. It's as simple as it. So basically what we are doing is we are calling Qt dot align right. So this is an inbuilt function that allows us to change the alignment. So using self dot editor dot set alignment Qt dot align right. And finally what we need to do is we need to add it to the toolbar. So for that we'll just say toolbar dot add action, and then pass in the our right align. Yep, there we go. So now we can copy paste this for center align and left align. So the code will be pretty much the same, except that we'll have to change some of the variables here. So we'll say left align this time, and over here the icon will be left as well. This will be left, and this align will be, instead of right, it will be left. And finally for the center align, it will be center everywhere, center, and couple of places more, and then we are done. Instead of align right, it is align center. So yeah, it's pretty simple. So let's just save our code and try to run it. Okay, the icons are there, but I mean they should be left, center, and right, but okay, never mind, we can change that. But let's see how it works. Okay, this is center align, and if I change it to right align, it goes there. This is left align, and this is center align. So yeah, it's working pretty nice. Okay, so we can close this and move on to the next part. Okay, so next what we are adding is the part to bold, italicize, and the underline the text. So let's just add the code for it. Like it's pretty similar to what we did for cut, copy, paste. So I'll just copy one of the methods and edit it, and then copy paste it for the rest. So here instead of cut button we have the, let's call it bold button, and Q action. Again the icon would be different this time. The icon would be bold.png, and the name we can change it from cut to bold self, and okay. this will be self dot bold text. Now we will create a method called bold text to actually make the text bold. So don't worry about this for now. We will come to this part later, but for now we'll just keep it as is. So we'll just say, wait, okay, we will just say bold text, okay? And finally over here we will have the bold button added to the toolbar. Now we can copy this and paste it 2 more times for the uh, what you call that, underline and italic text. So for this is for the underline and this is for the italic text. So we just need to keep on changing the name. So it should be underline. Copy this and underline, underline here, and okay, I missed one place. Over here we need to make it bold button, and finally over here underline. Now our underline text is also done. Lastly we have our italic text. So our italic button will have the italic logo, this will be italic, this will be italic, this is, and finally this is italic. And now we are pretty much done, and we can move to coding the method. So we have to code bold text, underline text, italic text, which will check if the text are currently these methods will make sure that the text, if they are what do you call, if they are already bold, they will make them normal, and if they are already italic, they'll make them normal, and vice versa. So I'll check for that as well. So let's start with the italic text. So we'll say def italic text, pass itself, and so we need to check if the text is already italic and then change it back to normal, otherwise we will change it to italic. So for that we will say, we'll create a variable for state. So state equals self dot editor dot font italic, and then self dot editor dot set font italic not state. So this is basically, we are checking if the text is already italic, then we are changing it to normal. If it's not italic, then we are then we are changing it to italic. So this is all we are doing in this method. Now we'll copy this and paste it for the underline method, because that is essentially the same. So we can just paste it there and just change it to underline text, and instead of font italic, this should be font underline, and then again this one is underline. Yes, okay. Lastly we have to do something similar for the bold text method. So bold text, it will have the self, and we need to check if it's bold. So for that we will say if self dot editor dot font weight is not equal to qfont dot bold. So basically we are checking if the font is not already bold. Qfont dot bold, then what we will do is we will change it to bold. So we will say self dot editor dot set font weight, and then we will pass in qfont dot bold. So we will, this is basically, we are changing the text to bold, and then we will return from this. If this is not the case, then what we will do is we will change it back to normal. Let's say for instance, if this returns false, like if the text is already full, then we will change it back to normal. So we'll say self dot editor dot set font weight and change it back to Qt font dot font, Q font dot normal. Okay, so yeah, let's give it a try. And yeah, there you go, you have the bold, underline and the italic right there. So let's just check. So if I type this and then make it bold, underlined and italic, so yeah, all of those works. And if I try to do that again, underline goes, italic goes away. So yeah, that pretty much works. For the last functionality of the rich text editor, we want to save the files. So that we can do using, we'll create another function over here. So I've created another button which is very similar to the undo and redo button, except that it just calls the save file method, and which I'll go to in a minute. And then we add that to the toolbar. So what our save function essentially is doing, it has a variable over here. So we created a variable called path, which was initially empty, and when the user clicks on the save button, what it does is it checks if the path is valid. So if checks if the path is empty, then it goes to the save as method. Otherwise, it tries to write to this, it converts the all the text that you have written into plain text and then writes to the file. And what the save as method simply does is creates a queue file dialog that opens a pop-up for which asks you to enter the name of the file that you want to save as. And once you save save it, it will convert it to the plain text and then write it to the file. So let me show you how all this works together. So this is our what the final version looks like. So we have this save button over here. Let me just write something and save it. So it asks me for the name of the file, so I'll just give it PSD and then save. So now if I head to this folder, it should be there. So yeah, that's it. It saves it properly. And one last thing that you can do to customize this as well, you can add separators in between to make these, the bold, italic and underline, be separated from the underline. So the way you can do that is you can say toolbar dot add separator. So over here, wait, where we had this align, after this we can say toolbar dot add separator and try running the code. So it adds this small thin line, as you can see. So this way you can separate out things like different things. You can separate the save from the undo and redo and the cut and all. So you can play around with these, and yeah, that's it for today. Alright, so that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and there are a lot of customizations that you can still add on to the text editor, so feel free to add those. And yeah, consider subscribing to our channel if you like our content, and drop a like if you like this video. And yeah, that's it for today, and I'll catch you in the next one.